Memories in the City by Cliff Hamrick. Chapter 1. The detective is failing to frighten me. Don't get me wrong, he's using all the right tricks. First, you keep the accused restrained. Check, as you can see by the iron manacles on my wrists. Don't worry, I can get out of these. The guards search for weapons, but aren't bright enough to check for much else. Then, you keep the accused waiting in a dark room with no windows, preferably in the cold, musty dungeon. Double check. The lack of windows not only make the room very dark, but the accused can't see how much time has passed. It makes the mind play tricks. Then, you start to imagine what kind of scary things might be lurking in the dark corners of the room. And last, you show the accused something threatening. Notice how the only candle in the room is strategically placed right next to the large bloodstain on the wooden table in front of me? Yeah, sometimes it's a bloodstain, sometimes it's a broken tooth, one time it was a full set of torture tools. They were really serious then. If I was some chicken shit pickpocket working the market district, I imagine that I would be pissing my pants right about now. From the smell in the room, it seems someone has recently. But I work in the dark, and blood is my trade. Yeah, they're pulling out all the stops to scare me, but after spending time as a prisoner of war, they can't do nothing to me that I haven't endured before. I tell them just enough truth to be convincing, lie about the rest, and survive whatever punishment they want to deal my way. Then, they let me go, and the whole game starts over again. But I know the truth. It's the detective that's scared. I saw it in his eyes when they brought me in. He thinks he knows who I am. And he's right. Right about who I am. And right to be scared. By my breath count and how much the candle is burned down, I figure that I've been in this room for a little over an hour. The show should be starting soon. Given how I'm dressed, I suppose, this time I'll play the role of a confused, indignant merchant. When they arrested me, I was waiting at the Singing Swan, an upscale tavern in the North Ward. I was supposed to meet with a gym cutter named Herbert Barbeau for dinner. I was hoping to get him drunk enough to let on when he was expecting his next shipment so that I could rob him and sell those gems to a smuggler who could get them upriver. So, I had to dress in these fine clothes to avoid suspicion. I don't wear my red brocade waistcoat unless I have to, but now I imagine the barkeeper has already told Barbeau about my arrest, so I suppose that I'll have to find another mark. And I don't want you to get the wrong idea about me. I'm not just some common thief. I'm an extraordinary thief, but I also don't need the money. I'm set well enough. No, the money was going to buy food and supplies for some of the hottest hit folks in the city. Years after the invasion and this occupation, a lot of people are still struggling. The sound of keys jangling outside the door is my cue. The iron door squeaks open and in walks the detective. He's a small man, middle-aged, and trying to hide his bald spot with a comb-over of his thinning blonde hair. Bureaucrat. He wears the sky blue uniform of a civilian officer of the Magnus Dominion, the army that conquered the city and has kept us under their big, mystical thumb for years. He's followed by a member of the city watch, a big guy with a big beard still containing the remnants of his lunch. I can tell he's watch and not one of the Dominion's soldiers by the dirty red sash he wears over his even dirtier leather brigandine armor. The watch has really gone downhill since the Whizzies took over. The detective sits in the chair across from me and puts on his little wire-framed glasses. He just stares at me for a moment. The candlelight reflecting off the lenses hides his eyes. It's supposed to be intimidating and unnerve me until I want to spill the beans. Okay, I'll play along. Oh, why am I here? What is the meaning of this? I've done nothing wrong. I make sure to put a little quaver in my voice. The detective pauses and watches me through his flame-covered lenses. I make sure to squirm appropriately. Then he takes out a little notebook and a pencil from the inside of his jacket and sets them down on the table. Looking back at me, he says, "My name is Detective Hans Schulter. Why are you that singing swan this evening, Mr. Messier?" "That's not my name. That's a fake name that I gave to Barbeau to use when I need to hobnob with the more polite segments of society. My real name is Jake Fox. Pleased to meet you." Either the detective doesn't know who I am, or he's just playing a game. That's okay. I've never heard of him either. Let's see where this goes. I was waiting for a friend for dinner. "Yes, a Mr. Herbert Barbeau. That is correct, He asks the question with that annoying Dominion accent, though I can tell that he already knows the answer. Not sure how he knew that. I just nod. He continues, "And why were you meeting with Barbeau. It was a business dinner. Well, part business, part pleasure. He smirks. What exactly is business, Mr. Messer? I'm a watchmaker. That's the truth. I was a watchmaker before the war. I still own a shop, though I haven't made or repaired a watch in years. I leave that to Simon, my old friend and business partner. He makes a note in his little notebook. And what exactly was the reason for business meeting with Mr. Barbeau? He's really efficient, and I'm not sure where this is going. I squirm a bit more and add that indignant tone to my voice again. What is all this about? I have broken no laws. My business with Mr. Barbeau is perfectly legitimate. He can attest to that. No, he can't. He was murdered. Okay, that stops me. I wasn't expecting that. As far as I knew, Barbeau was some low-level gem cutter, not the sort of person to get himself killed. I look at the detective and then the guard, who just gives me this bored look like he's waiting for the punching part to start. I look back at the detective. Well, I had nothing to do with that, I assure you. I didn't even know him very well. We were supposed to meet to finalize a set of semi-precious stones to set into ladies' watches I was designing. I had no reason to murder him. The detective scribbles in his notebook. When was the last time that you saw him alive? I have to think about that one. The last time that I saw Barbeau was when I was casing out his shop to figure out the best way to break in and rob his place. But I can't tell the detective that. I believe it was 3 days ago. Yeah, that's right. I visited his shop to check out his services. I wanted to make sure that he was as skilled as I was led to believe. He scribbled a bit more. I noticed a slight tremble in his fingers and a twitch in his eyes. He's still scared. But why? He's not scared of me. He's convinced I'm some nobody watchmaker. They obviously don't know who killed him, or they wouldn't be wasting their time talking to me. So, what's got him riled up? I decide to press the issue. Why did you arrest me? Surely you can't think that I had anything to do with this. The detective is still scribbling when he says, "We found your message to Mr. Barbeau at crime scene to set up this dinner arrangement." He looks at me. "Where were you last night, Mr. Messer?" "I had a dinner at the Grinning Lion, and then I went home to bed." That's actually the truth. Another scribble. "And this morning, Mr. Messer?" That's a tricky question. You see, I was alone all morning in my house. I was designing a new tool to pick locks a little easier. No alibi. I can't tell him the truth, and any lie I give could easily fall through or go bad for whoever I implicate. The candle flame sputters. Now, I'm really squirming. I wait a little too long to respond. The detective sets his pencil on his notebook and stares at me through those flames while he waits. The guards shout, "Answer the question!" His voice is loud and reverberates off the cold stone walls. He's ready for the punching part.